It's actually Advent. It feels weird doing the start of Advent when you're not actually in December yet, but it is Advent nonetheless, and that's really exciting. I don't know about you guys, but we've at least got our living room decorated, and we've realized how pitiful our decorations really are for the rest of the house. So we might have to figure out some way of getting some more. Um, but but it has started. I know that I've reached out to a few of you to help me out with a little project that I'm doing, and you've been putting up decorations too, which is really cool. So thank you for anyone who's taken part so far. Um, this Advent, I wanted to do it proper and do an actual Advent series. So we're doing two little things. So as you know, we do this on a Sunday and we do something else on a Wednesday. So the Sundays, I'm still gonna deliver, and the Wednesdays we're gonna hand them over to our friends in a couple of different charities who do really good work. So to deliver us a Christmas message of where they find their hope, tell us about who they are and what they do, and the people that they work with. So I'm really looking forward. We've got one lined up already, ready for Wednesday. We've got another one coming very soon behind, and we should have another one or two after that, which is really exciting. Um, Lord, in this short space of time that we have, help us to understand how and why you do what you do for us. Amen. Um, okay, so we have a few four different parts, hopefully, of the Advent series or Advent messages. The first is I wanted to entitle the whole thing "Finding Jesus." Okay, um, Lynn or Hannah actually has a book. I'm not even sure if it was Hannah's book originally, but it's Hannah's now. And it's called Finding Jesus. So you know, Where's Wally? Well, it's basically that. It's a Where's Wally, but with Jesus in it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. And she's very good at it. So we get competitive and we see who can win. And normally she takes her granda on and beats him. Um, but but I wanted to, when we're looking at this Christmas time, not get caught up in too much in the pandemic and not get too much caught up um in the shopping and in everything that goes around that and all of the stuff that we put into Christmas, but actually go on a journey together where we see how Jesus works, um, where we can spot Jesus in amongst the rubbish, in amongst the hard times. So yeah, so the first one, um, it's a really rough title even to put on it, but I felt it important, and it's something that kept coming back, and I felt like God wanted me to talk about it. But it is Jesus in the genocide. Okay, that sounds awful, I know, but when I was looking up the definition of genocide, it talks about a particular ethnic group or something like that who have been pursued to be killed, who have been effectively tried to be wiped out. Okay, many, many deaths. Um, but then there have been arguments around the definition because it rules out other people and other people groups who have been persecuted and have been chased down to death, and so on and so forth. And I think, in terms of the Christmas story, there is a bit of the story that we often gloss over. Mainly, I think, because it's slightly after the Christmas story. It's after Jesus is born. It's after the stable. So we're kind of going after first and then coming back. And we'll talk about that more in a little moment. Okay. Um, One of my favorite ever summer holidays I went on was when Lynn's mum and dad took us to Barcelona. And it was just amazing. Barcelona is a fantastic place. But one of the trips that we went on, one of the sort of day trips we took, was we wanted to just go to the beach and hang out and stuff like that. And my father-in-law had heard of a beach from somebody. And so we got on a train and we left. And when we left, it was like, you know, lots of Spanish people about, obviously being in Barcelona, but there was also a decent number of tourists, and generally you can tell what a tourist looks like, and it's usually how you're dressed. And then the further we got on this train, the less and less tourists there seemed to be. And then we got to a point we were like, we are we are definitely in the wrong place here. We definitely should not be here. So we got off at one of the stops. None of us speak in Spanish except for Lynn, who spoke a tiny amount. And we got off at a train station where there seemed to be nobody about. And before we could think about that, our train left, and on it went. So we tried to find our way back to the other side, so to catch a train going the other way. And the only person, like really, that we saw at this train station was a guy standing, leaning on a railing at the top of the stairs, looking down the stairs at us. And he's just leaning, looking. And when we get up the stairs, we obviously look totally confused, have no idea where we are, no idea how to get back to where we're meant to be. And the guy just says, "Are you lost?" In English, in perfect English. Are you lost? And we all kind of went, "Yeah, we're trying to get to the place we're trying to get to." And he said, "Ah, okay. You need to go to this platform, and you need to get the train this number of stops, and you'll be there." Like, what? I was convinced that this was an angel. There was no coincidental thing for him being there. That was so random that when we were that lost, that he was just happened to be there. It was amazing. It was amazing that we needed somebody, and he just happened to be there. That that is kind of Jesus, isn't it, for us? That is kind of the Christmas story, is that we needed Jesus, and so Jesus humbled himself. He became a child. Some versions say he was born as a man, which brings funny images in my head. But he was born as a human being. He was born naked and helpless and defenseless and everything, in order that he could rescue us. He gave up everything. He gave up his godliness, as it were. He gave up his standing, his his position. He gave up part of who he was, I guess, in actually humbling himself to be human, to be helpless. I wonder, if I asked you, how would you do it? What would you say? How would you announce yourself if you were God? Okay, if you were, or Jesus, if you were Jesus coming, okay, how would you announce yourself? I asked this question before to a group of teachers and students at a school in England that I worked with, and they gave me some fantastic answers. Some of them were along the lines of Harry Potter-ish, and some stuff that I just didn't understand at all. Two of the teachers said, were one of them supported Newcastle and one of them supported Sunderland. So the one who supported Sunderland said he'd be standing in the middle of the Stadium of Light, and he would just say, "Hey." Um, and the other one said that he would come on a giant wave, but not a wave that would hurt anybody, but a wave of love on a surfboard, and he would say, "Hello, world, I'm here." Um, and stuff like that. I wonder, if it were you, how would you announce yourself? Would you choose to come in a time of danger? Would you choose to enter a dangerous situation to announce yourself? Or would you choose safety? Would you choose comfort, or would you choose chaos? Would you choose, if you were naked and alone, to enter a knife fight or something like that? Would you choose to put your life on the line in order that you could rescue? Would you do that? I don't think I would. I'm not sure how I would do that if I were God, but thank goodness I'm not. I'm not sure how I would put that together, or what I would decide on, or how I would be that perfect rescue plan. But Jesus did it this way. Jesus did it this way. You see, Jesus knew. You can look it up in Matthew 2. Um, Jesus, when he entered the world, and the wise men made their journey, they made a stop off with Herod, and they told him all about what was going on, and prophecies, and how they read, and the stars, and how there was a star they were following, and so on and so forth. And Herod was so insecure that he instantly became angry that this was even happening. And so he basically tried to trick the wise men into coming back his way and telling him exactly where he could find this baby, this helpless baby, so that later on he could go and kill him. Thankfully, the wise men were guided to go another way home. But Herod was even more angry because he'd been tricked by the wise men. So he sent out his men to find all of the children he was taking no chances, all the children under the age of 2, or all the boys, babies under the age of 2, and kill them all. Kill them all. Don't take any chances. Kill them all. Now, we've seen this before, haven't we? Back at the start of the Bible, um, and Moses' story, and all that. But it's happening again. Now, Jesus knew when he came that this would happen. He knew that Herod would get angry. He knew that Herod was an insecure person and was threatened by a baby. He knew this, but he came anyway. In John chapter 20, after Jesus has died, um, on a cross, Jesus' disciples are meeting, and the door is locked because they are afraid for their lives. And Jesus suddenly appears amongst them. And when they were desperate, and they were crying out, and they were hurt, and they were crying, and they didn't know what to do, and they locked themselves away, and Jesus showed up. You see, Jesus does indeed show up. And it doesn't matter how hard the thing is. It doesn't matter how dangerous the situation is. It doesn't matter what you think. Jesus shows up time and time and time again. I worked with a missionary called Peter, and he used to fly lots of places and take people different places, and he used to evangelize while he was in these places. Amazing guy, and amazing stories. And he used to tell story after story after story of how he was in a place that he had no right to be in, how he'd lost fuel, how he couldn't get out, and how God showed up in amazing ways. How radar was down, or how things had gone missing, or whatever it was, and how he prayed. His reaction was to pray, not panic, and God showed up. God still shows up. Jesus still shows up. It wasn't just for then, it's for now. So whatever that thing is that you're going through, look at the Christmas story. Know that amongst the horridness that Herod perpetuated, that Jesus still showed up for you and for me. Psalm 50, verse 15 says, to finish, "Call on me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you will honor me." I will deliver you. Call on me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you. May that resonate with you now. May it settle in your hearts, and may it fill you with strength for the days to come. Amen. Amen.